All right, so welcome back. In this episode, we are going to, I guess, just map out a plan. The good news is I'm not going to do a lot of coding. I'm starting to realize that's probably a little painful to watch. But what I think I'm going to do is where we left off yesterday. We did get to a point where we could call the category and return some data. And if we look, I forget where I put, all right, I'll come in here. And this is what it looks like. Not the prettiest stuff you've ever seen, but it more or less gets the job done. So for this one thing. Now, if you remember, what I ultimately want to do is I might want to have the basic products here. I'll add another tab because I'll call another web service that gets me the bestseller information. So for each one of these products, there's a bestseller. And it might be nice to know all the statistics for that bestseller. So for example, if we come over here, I hope I do this right. So the bestseller, actually, that's not the one I wanted. I think it's this one. So if I could do seller ID, or maybe it is this one. But it would be nice to call this thing. So for a given product, get the bestseller, and let's see what type of, so it provides all this nice information about what product, the product that they're selling, what the rank is, their price increases, that's down here, price changes, and Walmart they're competing with Walmart. Walmart's winning 56%. So I might want to call this web service. I might want to call this web service and get the buy box stats. I might want to, I don't even know what. Anyway, long story short, I might want to have a separate tab for product information, really rich stuff, bestseller information, really rich stuff. The next thing, really rich stuff. And then we'll start building on that. Now that we have all this data, let's come use AppScript to go through it all. Like here's what I love about it. Everything's using this same set of 50 or whatever the number is. There might be 1,000 of these UPCs when we're all done, or the product IDs. I still haven't figured out how to do the search by UPC. But I should be able to go into, so let's say, for example, we have the bestseller tab, and that has all those price increases, the ranks, and Walmart or the buy box percentage, and whatever else. So there's 30 columns here of information. Like, what's nice is every row, so row number 6 is going to be for the same product here, that row number 6 is going to be here. So what we're going to be able to do is start looking at all the information in these 2 or 3 or 4 tabs, and start coming up with some analytics or an algorithm that's going to say, hey, I want to find a product that the buy box percentage is below 50%. The price is increasing. There's only a handful of sellers. They sell so many of them a month. The monthly revenue is this much. Like, I don't want to sell something that, it's not doing a lot of volume. So again, like, with that in mind, we've got to think about how do we want to organize our code, because right now this ain't going to cut it. So one way to do this, and if you're new to programming, I would just keep it really simple, and it means you're going to duplicate a lot of code, and but that's probably what I would recommend. And eventually you'll get tired of maintaining all these different functions that do the very similar things, that you'll start finding ways to consolidate them, and that's what programmers do. So anyway, here's what I'd probably do. I don't think I'm going to actually run this, but I'd probably make a function called get product. What was this first one? I did get products by category. I'll pass it a category ID, category ID. And here's where I'm going to move all this stuff. Do I want to do this? Let me just do this for now, because every function should have a very specific purpose. And So this one, we're going to call the endpoint, we're going to get the result, and we're going to push it into an array. In this case, all we're storing is the UPC and the product ID. We could do more stuff into this array. There's no reason, if we look at this, I forget, product sheet, there's about 10 columns worth of stuff. Most of it looked pretty boring, to be honest. And you can always go back to this thing to see what it returned. So title, UPC, parent product ID, buybacks price might be nice. Let me grab that just for giggles. And so all I'm going to do is, I don't want to lose that. So we're just adding a column to the array. And then I have to remember down here to send the number of columns in the array. Oh, so when we do this here, we actually have 3 columns. We're going to come back to that though. So again, I'm doing this fairly sloppy. I just want to think this through. So this thing, all this thing is doing is getting the data. This is pushing it into an array. I guess we could move this into here. Not great. I'm not nuts about this, but that's fine. So then what we do here is we'd say get products by category ID. So we call this, and let's pass it the category ID instead of hard coding it. So what we can do here is, don't want to do that. And this, I'm afraid to do this, but I think this should work fine. So we're going to exercise my function. So when we do this, hopefully with a little luck, we'll see 3 columns on that product sheet. Let me just make sure we got that set. To string of null. Oh. Maybe buy box price isn't in there. I have found that the API doesn't, or the documentation doesn't always match what's in the results. So again, I'm not going to waste too much time. I'd probably just do logger.log products. Let's just see what it looks like. In fact, I already have it. I have it here. So buy box price, it's there. So I'm doing something else wrong. Buy box, so new array products I, yeah. And it's not a string. So that's probably why, but that shouldn't matter. I've got something. There we go. All right. I think I forgot to save it. So there we got our, and I'm going to handwrite the title in there. So obviously some of them are missing a value. So this is kind of nice. So we're seeing some decent values in there. 68%, 64%, 16%. So that's that. So the next thing I do is if I wanted to, here's where you start getting yourself a little nuts. Because right now, what's nice is we're telling this to start writing the array at row 2. And that's because we're handwriting the titles. One nice little upgrade is maybe you make a var headings. Oops. Var headings. So at least it's maintained in code. And you put UPC ID and buy box. Said buy box %. I don't know. We'll just call it buy box. And you should be able to call this same thing here You have to put it inside an array. It's like, ugh, here's what you probably have to do there. I'm not going to do this. But anyway, long story short is you could write your headings array in here. Now you're starting to get a self-contained function that does everything you want it to do. Granted, it's not the most efficient, but it works. But what it allows you to do, maybe it will get this to work. There, we'll do headings array equals, what was it? It's just like down here, headings array equal. I think you want to start with a blank one, and then we can do headings array dot push array headings. I think that'll do it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start at row 1, column 1. I'm just going to do the number of rows is 1 and the number of columns is 3, and we're going to pass it the headings array. I'm going to change this to buy box _% so we see something a little different if this actually works. So again, not clean, not proud of this. Length I've defined. That's because I sent it the wrong thing. Why would I do that? I guess I forgot to change it. Okay, data has 1, but the range has 3. Did I get this wrong? Or no, I don't know which, I don't know which one it's doing. So anyway, I'm just going to leave it to you guys to do that if you're interested, but I might even show you what it looks like in some working stuff that I have. But I would get like one of these functions working nicely. Maybe you maintain the headings yourself manually. Not the worst thing in the world. And 27, what am I doing now? Products.length. What did I break? See, I told you I shouldn't have done this. Let me save it and rerun it. Undefined. Why is products undefined? When in doubt, Control Z until I did something stupid. Oh, it was probably adding this third. No, that should be fine. Everything looks good in there. I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. I just would like to get this thing to work. All right, so that worked. So we come back here, we see our 3 columns. Again, so my whole thing that I'm getting at is I would add the next function here, get bestseller product info, and we pass it the product ID. So I don't know, we're not going to do that. It's going to be a little different because if you think of it, we're going to have to start looping through all the product IDs to do that. But that's easy enough to do. So what we're going to do is we know we need to do the same thing we're doing here, just do it. We're going to call it this thing. And, like sometimes like I'm not going to figure out how to write out all that stuff and figure it out and fumble through it. So just pass out a hard-coded one just for the sake of getting this to work. And so now this is a product ID. And we're going to come to the API. And wasn't this? It was get bestseller data for a product. So we're going to look at this thing. I'm gonna grab this URL and I'm just gonna make a duplicate so I don't screw this up. So we got to put the product ID in here. We can get rid of this stuff. Of course, I screwed some stuff up. Yikes. All right, so come on, there we go. So like this should sort of work. We probably have to change a few things. So I'll come here, bestseller, so we know results. All we're dealing with is a result. It's not an array. So it's just the result, and then everything's one layer deep. So let's do this. I don't even know if I want to get this to work or not. So this isn't products. This is best. Yeah, I guess it is because we're getting the bestseller product information. So we'll leave it as products. That's not the worst name. We're just dealing with the results, and let's look at 2 or 3 things we can pull in from here. So we'll pull in the title, the rank, and the price, just for giggles. Title, rank, and price. So title. I have no illusions that this is going to work. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to get the result. Rows array, there's only going to be 1 row. Oh, the problem is I'm going to write this. I got to write this to, it's going to write it to the wrong sheet because it's going to write it to DS. So that's why in a previous one, I sent it sheet name. So I'm really not going to spend too much more time to this. Here's what without going into detail too much, I'd probably call this DS products because it's given a pointer to the product sheet, and I'll call this one bestseller. And I should spell that correctly. And then so then we just have to pass it. And again, this is not going to work. So, but just for giggles, let's see what happens. It worked. Go figure. So bestseller. So there's our 3 things: the title, I forget, the rank, and the price. So again, so the next thing you do is, all right, we've got to put a loop around this thing. So first thing we got to do is, okay, how do I get all of those things? How do I read in all of the information on that sheet? And there's a way to do it. So go figure out how to do that. And then once you do that, you just do a for, just like we did here. Loop through the list of 50 or 25, I forget how many we had, and then just pass it the products ID. Like you just do more or less the same thing. So again, the moral of the story is like, I'm just going to keep building this out and have 4 tabs of very rich information, and then I'm going to make another tab that allows me to put in some analytics and say like, hey, do this criteria, crunch the numbers, and spit out the 10 products that look worthwhile pursuing. I'll give you, I don't even want to give you a sneak peek. Like I've already worked out the code that does that, and it's a whole lot better than this. But we'll take a peek at that when we get to it. Maybe in the next one, we'll start we'll start diving in, because in the next one, I don't know, I'd really like to move away from talking about app script and start talking about how do we actually come up with an algorithm that's going to give us good results. So that's what I hope to do in the next one. So if you are still around, I appreciate you sticking around, and we will try back for episode 4. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.